I was supposed to spend the afternoon quietly cataloging asteroid dust, a peaceful job that involved more sneezing than diplomacy, when the Lithari guards stormed into the lab and informed me, in their politely terrifying way, that the Queen wanted to see me. No explanation, no time to wash the mineral residue off my face, not even a chance to tell my supervisor I might be late returning the microscope. Two guards simply grabbed me by the elbows and marched me through the crystalline corridors of the royal flagship, which hummed like a giant cat purring through the fabric of space. I tried asking questions, but the guards only replied with an enthusiastic, "You will be honored," which was not comforting. People say honored right before handing you a medal or sacrificing you to their sun god. The throne chamber was enormous, shining like someone polished the universe and forgot to tell physics to calm down. Floating lanterns drifted overhead, reacting to sound by changing color, which meant they instantly turned a bright anxious yellow when they saw me. Queen Zelyara sat on her throne, majestic, radiant, and giving off the distinct aura of someone who could conquer 6 galaxies before breakfast. Her long, iridescent ears framed her face like living silver, twitching faintly with amusement as I was marched before her. There were maybe 24 advisors, all whispering behind their hands and stealing curious glances at me, as if I were a strange new pet the Queen had brought home. The Queen leaned forward, and with the casual delivery of someone ordering lunch, announced, "You will marry my daughter and give me beautiful grandchildren, human." My brain performed every error message possible. System overload. Rebooting. Blue screen of interspecies panic. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again, and produced a dignified diplomatic response. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty, I think there's been a cosmic misunderstanding." She waved a hand, sending a ripple through the air as if space itself politely stepped aside. "No misunderstanding. You are compatible. You are reasonably symmetrical, and my daughter likes what is the human term?" She snapped her fingers. An advisor whispered in her ear. She nodded. "Face, she likes your face." Somewhere in the room, a ceremonial orb began playing soft romantic music, as though it had been waiting its entire life for this moment. It hovered toward me like an enthusiastic matchmaker until a guard gently nudged it away. I tried to step backward, but the guards were still holding me, and moving was not an option unless I wanted to be carried like a sack of potatoes. Then she appeared. Princess Lyra peeked from behind a pillar, her long shimmering ears curling slightly in embarrassment. She looked like a human woman at first glance, slender, expressive, her hair cascading like ribboned starlight, but the ears made her unmistakably Lithari, and the way she kept nervously tucking them behind her shoulders made it obvious she was just as startled as I was. She stepped forward slowly, hands clasped, eyes wide, as though worried I might bolt or combust. "I'm sorry," she whispered to me, her voice soft as the hum of the ship. "Mother has strong ideas." "Strong," I repeated. "She just ordered me to marry you." Lyra winced. Her ears flicked sideways, apparently the Lithari equivalent of an apologetic shrug. "Yes, she does that sometimes. Last month she told an ambassador's aide he should marry diplomacy itself, and everyone pretended to understand." I glanced back at the Queen. She was watching us with the anticipatory look of someone observing a soap opera she personally scripted. The advisors leaned in closer, whispering excitedly. One of them held up a notepad labeled Projected Offspring Traits, Draft 1. "This isn't exactly how humans start relationships," I whispered. Lyra blushed, her ears lighting with a pink glow that matched the ceremonial orb's persistent attempts to play romantic crescendos behind us. She leaned nearer. "I know, believe me, I'm not," she gestured awkwardly toward me. "I'm not trying to force you. I barely knew you existed until 12 minutes ago." "Same. And I thought humans said no to things." "We do. Constantly. It's one of our proudest skills. So say no." I looked at the Queen. She raised an eyebrow with the exact expression of someone who had never heard no in her life, and didn't plan to start today. I'm evaluating my options, I whispered. The queen clapped her hands, and a table of advisors rushed forward with holographic charts displaying star maps, genetic compatibility projections, and something labeled wedding ceremony mood lighting options. Lyra covered her face with both hands, mortified. I attempted to step aside, but a floating lantern bumped gently into me as if encouraging me to stand my ground and smile. Queen Zelyara stood, her shimmering armor humming. It is decided. The court will prepare. You two will spend time together. You will bond. And eventually you will give me grandchildren who will rule the Lithari with elegance and, she widened her eyes dramatically, nice cheekbones. Your Majesty, I said, trying to remain calm, humans require time, conversation, emotional development, possibly snacks. We don't marry people we just met. She blinked slowly. Then you will take time, converse, develop emotions, and eat snacks. Princess Lyra will assist you. Lyra sighed. Mother. It is done, the queen announced. And just like that, the guards released me. The ceremonial orb struck up a triumphant love ballad. The lanterns turned glittery gold, and Princess Lyra looked at me with a small, sympathetic smile that, strangely, made my panic soften just a little. Would you like a snack? She asked. And in that moment, trapped between an alien queen's decree and a princess with shimmering ears, I realized my life had just been rewritten by the universe in the strangest possible way. Princess Lyra led me through the royal gardens, which were less gardens and more gravity-defying botanical experiments created by someone who thought physics was optional. Flowers drifted lazily in midair, their roots dangling like decorative tassels. Bioluminescent vines spiraled into shapes that suspiciously resembled hearts as we walked past them. I suspected the queen had given the flora a motivational speech before our arrival. Lyra walked beside me with her hands clasped behind her back, her long, iridescent ears swaying like nervous metronomes. Every few steps, she glanced at me and then pretended she wasn't glancing at me, which only made the whole thing more awkwardly endearing. I'm really sorry about earlier, she said. My mother gets excited. Excited, I echoed. She declared interstellar marriage like she was announcing dinner. Lyra groaned and covered her face. The bioluminescent vines mirrored her movement in slow, dramatic fashion, which made her groan even more. I told her to stop doing that. Last time she tried to arrange a union, the ambassador jumped out a window. Don't worry, the windows are made for that. Soft landing platforms. Comforting, I said. If I panic, I'll know where to leap. Her ears perked slightly. You won't need to. I'm not planning to force anything. That sentence made something in me unclench. She must have noticed, because she offered a shy smile, the kind that flickered like a star stabilizing after a flare. She guided us toward one of the floating platforms that drifted above the garden. When we stepped onto it, the platform rose smoothly, carrying us into the upper dome where constellations shimmered like jewels. The dome wasn't glass. It was a living material that shifted to reveal whichever star system you asked for. Lyra tapped a crystalline panel, and suddenly we were surrounded by the glittering view of her homeworld sky. It listens to emotion, she explained. Whatever you're thinking strongly, it shows you. I stared at the display, confused. It's showing a sandwich. She clasped her hands over her mouth to stifle a laugh. So you are hungry. Look, the queen stressed me out. Stress burns calories. With a flick of her wrist, she activated a floating tray that drifted toward us. Strange snacks appeared, spirals of blue fruit, crisp star leaves that tasted like mint and lightning, and something jelly-like that tried to wiggle out of my hand until I scolded it. Lyra watched me eat with an amused pout, her ears shifting in gentle curves. You're different from what I expected, she said softly. Humans seem softer. Softer, in a good way. Many species we meet are either aggressive or extremely serious. You're more expressive. Your face moves a lot. That's our evolutionary advantage, emotional elasticity. She giggled, and the floating lanterns above us flickered in bright gold as if cheering. I was beginning to suspect everything in Lithari culture participated in romance, whether invited or not. We drifted across the garden until a sudden roar echoed from below. A creature the size of a small shuttle trotted into view, 6 legs, fur like rippling stardust, and eyes glowing with suspicious curiosity. "Is that friendly?" I asked. "Oh yes," Lyra said, "completely harmless." The creature sniffed the air, saw me, and immediately bounded toward the platform with joyous enthusiasm. "Why is it running at me like that?" "It likes new scents." "That's not the comforting answer you think it is." The creature leapt onto the platform, wiggling around me with enough force to nearly knock me into orbit. Lyra laughed so hard she nearly fell off the other side, her ears fluttering so wildly they looked like luminous ribbons caught in the wind. "Hold still," she said between giggles. "You smell like minerals. It loves minerals." "That's because I was working in a lab. Does it think I'm food?" "No, no, it just likes you." She reached over and guided the creature away with gentle pats. "See, completely harmless." When the creature wandered off, leaving my clothes covered in glittering fur, I tried shaking it off. The fur refused. Instead, it hummed. Lyra's smile softened. "You handled that well. Some people scream." "I scream internally," I corrected, very loudly. We settled again on the platform, and the dome shifted to show a swirling nebula. Lyra looked at it quietly, her expression softening. "I know my mother seems overbearing. She just doesn't want me to be alone. Royal life doesn't leave much room for choosing things, or people." The weight behind her words surprised me. She looked down at her hands, her long ears folding tightly. She wasn't the princess the queen projected, confident, poised, ready to rule. She was someone burdened by expectation, yet hoping for something real. I exhaled slowly. "For what it's worth, I don't want you to be forced into anything either." Her ears lifted slightly, shimmering with a glow that reminded me of dawn. "I'm glad, because I'd like us to try to understand each other. The real way, not the Queen's way." "That sounds reasonable," I said, "and maybe we can start with something small." She hesitated, then pointed. "There's a holographic garden maze over there. It only becomes dangerous if you make terrible life choices." "Is that a metaphor?" "Possibly. Come on." She tugged my sleeve lightly and led me toward the entrance of the maze. The moment we stepped in, walls of shimmering light rose around us, bending gravity in playful tilts. Somewhere deep inside, a cheerful but ominous voice announced, "Welcome, potential mates. Enjoy your romantic challenge," I groaned. Lyra groaned louder. "Just ignore it," she muttered. "Everything here has opinions." But as we walked deeper into the maze, the tension between us eased. We talked. We joked. We teased each other about cultural misunderstandings. And somewhere along the glowing pathways, I realized something unsettlingly warm. I wasn't just surviving this bizarre royal decree. I was starting to enjoy her company. The Queen summoned us at dawn, which for the Lithari meant the exact moment the binary suns aligned, and blasted so much light into the throne room that every reflective surface temporarily became a weapon. I squinted, nearly blinded, while Princess Lyra stood beside me with practiced serenity, her long, iridescent ears glowing like twin comets. She looked calm, but I could see the slight quiver at their tips, her version of panic. I leaned closer and whispered, "If we run now, do you think we can make it to the nearest escape pod?" She whispered back, "Yes, but the pods announce your emotional state upon launch." They'd yell fearful, repeatedly. Mother would hear. So that plan died quickly. Court advisors filled the room, armed with holographic contracts, ceremonial ribbons, and something I suspected was either a wedding dove or a small alien with very good posture. The Queen stood tall, regal, and absolutely certain she was about to witness her greatest achievement. "Today," she declared, "you will be joined before the Lithari, the royal lineage, and my collection of witnesses who bet heavily on this outcome." I swallowed. Lyra inhaled. The ceremonial orb began playing dramatic music that sounded like a choir having a panic attack. The queen gestured for us to step forward, but Lyra held up her hand, tiny, trembling, but unmistakably firm. "Mother," she said, "we need to speak." The queen raised an eyebrow. "Speak. Now, is it about cake flavors? We can change those unless the human wants chocolate again. That caused last week's diplomatic incident." "No," Lyra said. "It's about choice." The room fell silent. Even the floating lanterns froze mid-drift. I felt Lyra's fingers brush mine, tentative, uncertain, and I squeezed back, grounding myself in the decision we'd made the night before. Her voice gained strength as she continued. "You want grandchildren, a united legacy, and a future for our people. I understand that, but forcing a marriage will only create resentment for him, for me." Her ears straightened sharply, glowing with resolve. "You taught me that leadership requires understanding, not command." Queen Zelyara tilted her head, as if hearing her own words repeated back with surprising effectiveness. "I did say that, once, during a speech I gave while half asleep." Lyra stepped closer to her. "Let us choose our path. If he stays with me, it should be because he wants to, not because you ordered it." All eyes turned to me and my stomach tried to escape through the floor. I'd rehearsed my speech all night, but it still felt like jumping into a star's gravity well. I cleared my throat. "Your Majesty, when we met, I was terrified." "You terrified me. Everything here terrified me. Even the snacks terrified me at first." Lyra stifled a laugh. The queen squinted, unsure whether to be offended. "But your daughter, she didn't. She listened. She learned about humans. She let me get chased by a giant fur creature and then laughed at me, but in a kind way." Lyra covered her face, mortified. I took another breath. "I never expected to care for her, but I do. She's thoughtful, curious, and braver than she thinks. And I'd stay here, willingly, but not as part of a command." A ripple went through the room, like the entire court exhaled. The queen folded her arms, studying us. Her long ears twitched as if tuning into the emotional frequency of the moment. After what felt like an eternity, she sighed dramatically. "Fine, fine. I suppose forcing marriage is outdated. The royal council will complain. Tradition will crumble. Historians will write rude footnotes about me. Mother," but she pointed a regal finger at me, "if you break her heart, I will launch you into a moon." "That feels fair," I replied. The advisors looked devastated as they packed away the wedding materials. The holographic Dovalian sighed in disappointment and waddled off. The ceremonial orb played a confused melody that sounded like a breakup song and a victory march at the same time. Lyra let out a breath she'd clearly been holding for years. When she turned to me, her smile was small but full of meaning. "So, what happens now?" I looked around the throne room. At the queen softening for the first time, at the advisors scrambling to rewrite tradition, at the odd, luminous kingdom I somehow no longer wanted to escape. "Now," I said, "we take it slow. You show